and welcome to Minute Meta. I am your host, Darth Tedward. Today, we are going to be going over the Season 4 patch notes. They just dropped 20 minutes ago. There are a lot going on in these patch notes. I'm normally trying to keep my videos under 2 minutes. I don't know if it's going to be possible. Again, I'm only going over things that I think are important and I think you need to know, so we are going to be skipping some things. We're not even going to waste any time. Let's just get into it. And the Season 4 patch notes are here. As we learned earlier this week, during the week of July 21, they're actually going to be rotating Rebirth Island and the new Resurgence map. The Battle Pass, of course, 100 tiers. We're getting 2 weapons with the Battle Pass. So they're not going to be changing the player count for Fortune's Keep from Rebirth. As we learned earlier, they're going to be very, very close in size, so I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. There are a lot of new updates coming for Caldera. There's Storage Town from Verdansk is going to be coming in, as we learned earlier this week. A lot of new micro POIs, and the biggest thing that I think is massive, I've seen some pictures this week on Twitter floating around. They removed a lot of vegetation. It says it reduced by 50%. From the pictures I've seen, it looks like it's going to be even more than 50%, but we're not going to know exactly until we get into the map. Couple of massive things. One, the gas mask animation when you're jumping and trying to pull your chute, it will no longer interrupt it when you're trying to pull your chute. For fire sales, self-revives will no longer be free, but they are making loadout drops cheaper during fire sales. And for the Caldera players, one, the Gulag audio. Spectators now have muted footsteps, which will be fantastic for Gulag. And your redeploy position, you will now redeploy very close to your squad or loadout. Another massive thing, perks. Ghost and Combat Scout are being added to ground loot. Battle Hardened has been buffed for stuns and flashes, and Restock is receiving a 5-second nerf on recharge time. Snapshots has received a 5-meter nerf, and now let's get into weapons. Of course, you know about the LMG and the new SMG that are coming. Lots of weapon changes. I'm going to go through this as fast as I can. I'm just going to tell you whether I think it's been nerfed or buffed or kind of equal. You can pause to read if you want to, just trying to keep this video as short as possible. The Cold War AK received a slight nerf in recoil. The AS-44 received a buff. Assault Rifle Charlie, which is the bar, received a slight buff. The Cooper Carbine received a damage buff, but a recoil slight nerf. Assault Rifle Bravo, which is the Itra Burst, received a slight buff. The Nikita received a buff. Big thing that I'm seeing through these patch notes on a lot of guns, they are nerfing tight grip. Like here on the KG, they increase damage and bullet velocity, but they decrease the amount of recoil control you get from tight grip. The FFAR actually received a slight damage range buff. For the NZ, I think the meta barrel is going to change. It looks like the burst barrel, the burst part of it got a buff, but the full auto part of it got a slight nerf. But the barrel, the O-Reaper 360, that was supposed to receive a bullet velocity buff in the last patch that did not, is now going to be the meta barrel. And the 50-round mags received a slight nerf to recoil control, but I don't think it's going to affect it that much. So overall, NZ did not change, just a different barrel. Assault Rifle Alpha, which is the STG, received a nerf. The Vardar got buffed again. It's back to what it was when it was originally released. I think it's going to be meta. The Volt got a slight buff in visual recoil. All of the launchers got buffed, but I don't think it was enough because they only increased all of their max damage to 275. It used to be 250 where you could one-shot anyone with the launcher. Now you still cannot one-shot anyone with the launcher without a direct hit. LMGs, though, Whitley received a buff. The DP, Bryn, and Type 11 are just bullet velocity increases, though. No damage and no recoil. The MG received a buff in damage, but again, tight grip was slightly nerfed. The M1 Grand and the STG received a damage multiplier buff. Mr. Luci's gonna be happy about this. The crossbow for Modern Warfare received a buff. The Amp received a nerf. Handgun Charlie from Cold War, which is the Diamante, received another nerf. And the Rat received a buff. The Rat is probably going to be one of the best pistols in the game now. So the armor received an adjustment. It got a buff and a nerf. They buffed it at range slightly, so it's a good mid to long range SMG, but they nerfed it at short range. They want it to be an all-around SMG. So there are going to be some SMGs that beat it up close, but it's probably going to work its way into the sniper support meta, especially on the Resurgence maps. The Blixen received a slight nerf. I still think it's going to be very, very good for high skill players. The Mac received a buff. I'm very much interested in seeing what this did to the actual profile of the gun. The Owen received another nerf. Please get that gun out of here. The Vanguard PPSH got a buff. The Sten got a buff. The Type 100 got nerfed. The Rapid Barrel, which is what most people consider the meta barrel, the recoil got nerfed even more, and the fire rate also got reduced slightly. The Well Gun got a slight nerf. It's not going to affect it much. All of the marksman rifles, which are either the marksman rifles or the snipers that do not headshot after a certain distance, all got a slight buff in flinch. Marksman Rifle Charlie is the car. And all heavy snipers also received a flinch decrease. The anti-tank rifle got a buff. The 3-line rifle got a really good buff to its ADS time. I think this is going to work its way into the meta. Tactical Rifle Charlie, which is the AUG from Cold War, got a buff. A lot of attachments got adjusted. I'm only going to read you the ones that I think matter. The MX Silencer got a vertical recoil control nerf. nerfed slightly. It's not going to make that much of a difference. The SMLE pistol grip got a buff. The Mark Skeletal, which is what most people consider the ADS attachment for underbarrel, got a slight adjustment. The hatch grip got a pretty significant buff. It might move its way into the meta rear grip. Thank you so much for watching. We went through these patch notes as fast as we possibly could. I'm sorry it's a slightly longer video, but there's a lot going on in these patch notes. We will be dropping the meta gun sometime later this week. It always takes a couple days for the meta to work itself out. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please drop a like and subscribe again if you enjoyed the content. Y'all stay out and aim for greatness.